Hey kids, join the club. Get the all-new CCXCC t-shirt made with 100% mutant power. Be like these cool kids. Get it now on dinobeast.com and chrisandersoncomics.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Claremont X-Men Comic Club. I'm Chris Anderson. As always, I am joined by John Coates. How you doing, John?
Oh, I'm doing terrific.
Awesome. We're going to take another little deviation from the regular programming of the X-Men books, and we're going to take a look at Marvel Team Up, number 69, featuring Spider-Man, as always, and Havoc. So this sort of is, again, written by Claremont, and it is in continuity with the regular series, so we have to come in and take a look at it, right?
Yeah, that is right. And we're going to find out exactly why in a second here. We'll note real quick, Dave Cockrum on the cover.
Dave Cockrum on the cover and John Byrne on the interiors.
Yeah, so it's a whole X-Men reunion in this issue. And we mentioned it in a previous episode that Claremont wrote Marvel Team Up for almost 3 years.
Yeah.
During this early period when he is writing X-Men. So he's kind of pulling double duty, maybe triple duty even at this point, because he was writing a lot of stuff.
Did the Marvel Team Ups, they all featured Spider-Man, right?
Yep.
Did they also tend to cross over with the continuity of other books that were going on? Like, I wonder how much work he had to do with that. That seems like a pain in the ass.
Yeah, and maybe the editors helped with that. I think, at this point, Marvel still cared about keeping all the books in a continuity where they're not stepping on each other's toes, so to speak, with stories,
Simpler times.
Yeah, so like, if you want Wolverine to guest star in your book, well, maybe we have to write him out of that month's issue of X-Men for some reason.
Right.
Now that's just like, we'll just put him in 5 issues every month and who cares?
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
But back then, like, they cared about what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in real time, it was like you were looking into the world of the Marvel Universe,
Yeah.
Like you were looking, like it had a portal into the world, whereas now it's just whatever the hell they want to do, for better or worse. Yeah, so let's dive into this one. It's interesting too because I know I think the last issue that we looked at of X-Men was a fill-in issue, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, with Warhawk, aka Evil Colossus.
That's right. So I wonder if that gave Byrne a chance to draw this issue before stepping back in the next regular series X-Men, so he didn't have to take a month off. He was working straight on from this one to the next.
Yeah,
Makes
sense.
A good point.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Also, John Byrne is like a really fast artist.
Yeah.
It seems like.
Yeah, and when you're just handling pencils too, it could go a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Although he's also an intricate artist, so that's an interesting thing too.
Yeah, like later in his career when he's writing and drawing everything he's doing, and then also doing other little fill-in issues on other books and stuff. It's just like, whew, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's Kirby style, right?
Yeah. Not quite as much as Kirby, but
yeah.
But he put out some pages though.
Yeah.
So here we go, and John Byrne pencils and a different inker here, R. Villamonte.
Yeah. Byrne's faces, you will notice his signature style doesn't show through as much with R's inks on them as they do with, say, a Terry Austin, which is interesting to note.
Yeah, totally agree. So like, yeah, everyone pay attention when you're looking at this issue and compare it to next issue when we get back to the regular series of X-Men and Austin is back on inks. You'll definitely see a difference.
Yes, for sure.
So here we go, Night of the Living God.
What?
Great title. And this is good. This issue is really cool because it brings us up to speed on some of our various X-Men, what they've been up to.
Yeah.
So it starts here with Havoc and Polaris on Muir Island. And we learned did they talk about it in 110?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, they're not with the team anymore. They're off, taking a break.
That's right.
And
they were over here with Multiple Man.
Yep. And because they had been previously brainwashed by Eric the Red, and they got free of the brainwashing, and so they need a break.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're hanging out with the Multiple Man on Moira's awesome island research center out here in the Hebrides. And we get these cool looking sort of Egyptian hat kind of guys with like high-tech guns sort of waiting to ambush him here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
White dudes.
Yeah, I love these white Egyptians.
Yeah.
Here ready to ambush them. I always love these hats like that.
Yeah, me too.
With the stripes and stuff, you know.
We should bring them back.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I don't know. They always just look cool. So here we go. Our two lovebirds just taking a stroll. And they mentioned that the Multiple Man, Jamie Madrox, is actually in Edinburgh for the weekend. So he's not even there. So it's just the two of them.
Right. Moira's also gone.
Yep. Moira's also gone.
I like this top panel. I like the inking in here, the way that he inks these rocks. If you took the color away, it would be very like spacious, like there's no holding line around them, which is cool. And I love the silhouette of the henchman back behind him. And then here's a very good example of how this doesn't really look like a burned face.
Yeah, like Alex's face there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the eyes.
Yeah,
and stuff. Yeah. And all of a sudden, Farak. They get blasted. And of course, Alex, he's not going to take that. So he powers up and it's just like, blasts his own clothes off.
Yeah.
But he's got his costume on. He's ready for action.
I think that is so funny that I've been noticing throughout reading these, the way that all of a sudden people are costumed. It happens so fast and it's like they have it in their back pocket the whole time. It's really funny.
Yeah. But if you're like this dude and like, I don't know, you've got these awesome superpowers and you've got this badass black costume, like, heck, I'd wear it underneath my regular clothes. I'd be ready for action.
Even on vacation with your lady friend?
Yeah, man.
Especially maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And especially if you're this dude, like, as a reminder, Havoc, since he first appeared in X-Men, he's like always either brainwashed or kidnapped or something.
Yeah.
So he has not had an easy go. So he's on edge. He's always on edge. He's staying frosty, as they would say in Aliens. So here we go. He unleashes his power at our shadowy Egyptian figures. We get our awesome concentric rings.
Yeah. That's a cool effect for him. And I like how the rings, even on the costume, no matter which way he turns, it's always a perfect circle.
Yeah, I like that.
So it's not a logo. It's actually the the energy. It seems like always.
And he mentions to Lorna that he's keeping it low powered. He's not going to kill anybody. But then here come our more of our Egyptian guys in this crazy sci-fi flying car with this laser cannon on it, shooting at them.
Yeah, it's a great drawing.
Yeah. And Havoc realizes that he recognizes these guys and that they're wearing outfits that match the Living Pharaoh's henchmen.
Whoa.
The Living Pharaoh. And Lorna is not impressed. She's like, Living Pharaoh or Living Mummy, it's all the same to me.
Yeah, she's the mistress of magnetism. So as long as they have metal equipment, she can take them out.
Yeah. And of course they are flying a metal car. So she just tears that sucker apart. But this is a great shot too, where again, we get these little foreground figures where guys climbing up the cliff.
Yep. It's a great use of a wonky panel too, to be able to fit them in there in the foreground. You know, I mean, I think if I was drawing it, I would have maybe pushed them even further towards the foreground. But I really like it.
Yeah, this is like in just this little page and a half sequence, you really get the sense that they're surrounded. They're just like coming out of every angle, everywhere you look. Now there's guys coming from different directions at him. Yeah, he's got 3 planes of action happening in all of these shots, except for the very last one. That's pretty impressive. Yeah. And so our guys coming up the cliff, they use one of their high-tech lasers and shacked. It's a South American bolo, as he likes to say here. Oh yeah, that they get Havoc with. Yeah. Yeah, and it isn't just a regular bolo, it knocks his powers out. Yeah, neutralizing bolo. And right before that, they blast the cliff away, so Polaris goes falling into the ocean. Right. And so now he is in some trouble. Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. And here we go. He is all wrapped up. And he's trying to reason with him. He's like, hey, listen, guys, like you can take me, but like you got to rescue Lorna because she's going to drown. Right. I won't give you any trouble. Just save her quick and then take me. And they tell him, like, when you have one tiger by the tail, you don't release it to go looking for its mate. Right. Exactly. Cold. That is cold as ice. Yeah. So they're just going to let her drown. Yeah. They're like, all right, we killed one. No problem. She is expendable, they think. Interesting in that second panel where they're pulling him onto the ship. It's interesting how they colored the ground like that to kind of focus in on them. You know, obviously it must be like light coming out of the ship, but it focuses around these guys carrying him. Yeah. Frames it. Yeah, it's much better than if they had like tried to make it like brown, like the other dirt, you know? Yeah. But of course, as they fly away, we see a hand coming out of the water. So we don't have to worry. We don't have to wait too long. We know that she survived. Yes. Which is good. Yeah. We don't want the kids freaking out. That's right. And then we're going to cut back to New York City to ESU campus. What? The campus where Right, Reed Richards went to school, and Wyatt Wingfoot, and everybody cool.
Very prestigious.
Went to ESU. And here's Peter Parker in his advanced chem lab, and it tells us he's a senior already, college senior. I always think, I mean, it's a different discussion, but I always think it's so interesting how like movies and stuff always want to set Peter Parker in high school. Like everything always wants to take him to like high school.
To like his first appearance.
And yeah, and like the majority of all his like great comics history, he's not in high school.
Right.
You know, like he leaves there like fairly quickly and gets on to college.
Yeah, he's like a grandpa now.
And stuff. Yeah. You know? So, you know, anyways, that's a whole, we could have all kinds of Spider-Man conversations. But so he's like burning the midnight oil, trying to get this, get his chemistry stuff done. Andy's worrying about Aunt May because she's had like multiple heart attacks, like usual.
Yeah. Oh man, that poor lady.
Yeah, but she's unkillable at this point.
Right.
You just can't do it. But he overhears out of this like top open window in a different room some like intruders.
Yeah, with his super spider hearing.
Yeah. And what do you know? It's more of our white Egyptians here.
Mm-hmm.
Looking for the Master's mystic Ankh. So they must be in wait, do they say whose office they're in? Professor Craig, but they don't say what he's a professor. It has to be like an archaeologist.
Must be, yeah.
Or some, you know, something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guy's office. And they're saying, okay, well, that's good. Our Scottish assault team has successfully captured Havoc. Everything must be in readiness by the time he arrives.
So Byrne drawing Spider-Man here is pretty cool. It is very much on the John Romita model of Spider-Man, but I always liked the just keeping him as simple as that, you know? He doesn't need to be super stylistic. He already is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think here, let's get to a page where we get to see Spidey in all his glory. Here we get the great putting on the mask.
Mm-hmm.
I love a good Spidey image putting on or taking off the mask.
Yes.
Because he's ready, and like here's our guys leaving out the window with the Ankh they stole.
Mm-hmm.
Another little fancy hover car. And Spider-Man breaks in the door to stop him. And before then, he had put a bunch of webbing across the door, thinking he was going to catch them when they came out. And they went out the window, so then he gets stuck in his own webbing.
I've never seen him get stuck in his own web before.
No, classic. But yeah, I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
I mean, but he's super strong, but the webbing holds other super strong guys. So
that's
I don't know.
True. I always just kind of figured that like a spider doesn't get caught in its own web, he doesn't get caught in his, you know, I don't like there's some sort of like anti-stick about him.
Yeah.
But I guess not.
Yeah. So you're talking about the Spider-Man costume. It's so good. Like you don't have to do anything to it. It's just brilliant as is.
Yeah, it is such a strange costume. Like we all have this burned into ourselves. It's just so, you know, commonplace. You don't really think about it with like an original mind very often. But to think about how like absolutely batshit it is to have somebody draw these lines around him every single panel, it's out of control.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I love small eyes on Spidey.
Yeah.
I like the small-eyed Spidey. Yeah, it's just shocking. Like everything else almost like comes from that sort of Superman and Golden Age style hero costume.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to Spider-Man and it's like all that's out the window and this is what you get.
Yeah.
And it's just so different.
Ditko or Kirby, whoever it was that designed it, was a mad person.
Well, it was that the Halloween costume.
That Halloween costume, that's right.
Yeah. So if you want to have the conversation of like how much does the costume make the hero, then you're talking, well, then how much credit does that guy that made the costume get for creating Spider-Man? Like,
I mean,
is he 50%? Is he 60% of the creation? Like, how much credit? Because like, I don't know, if Spidey isn't wearing that costume, is he as cool as he is? Like, does he last as long? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Kirby's original Spider costume was not very good. It was, that was a kind of a weak design. So that guy doesn't last compared to this.
No.
Which is interesting. So, have that discussion at your next dinner with your family, dear listeners, and, get back to us. Let us know how many fistfights erupt. So Spider-Man is stuck, but he's a scientific genius, so he can chuck his little spider tracker on their ship.
Bink.
And he's going to find him anyways. And so now we're going to cut back to Lorna Dane, who has gotten herself out of the ocean and made it back to Muir Island. And she's trying to call the X-Men to get help.
Yeah, she's sopping wet. Probably going into hypothermia.
Yep. And, well, it's ringing here in the X-Men's dining room. Nobody's picking up.
It's 3 a.m. in New York. They should be there.
Yeah, right?
I mean, I don't know if, depending on how old you are and you're watching this, if your phone rang, your phone rang. There was no silencing it. So you'd get woken up at 3 a.m. if your phone was ringing.
Yeah, that sucker's loud.
Yep. And they have every kind of phone imaginable too. Look at that. They've got the wall mounted phone with push buttons on it. They don't have a rotary, I guess, but No,
maybe Charles has one next to his bed. He's got the rotary style or something. But and she mentions like, well, if the X-Men are on a mission, that Cerebro should have at least automatically taken the call, and it's not even doing that.
Yeah.
So something is wrong with the X-Men.
Yep.
So she's got one other hope where she can call somebody, and she calls up the Avengers to talk to the Beast.
The Beast.
Who, as we can clearly see, is now Cool Beast and not Main Beast.
That's right.
And he's roasting marshmallows with his feet.
As you do.
Yeah, like you do. I don't see like any graham
fire.
crackers or chocolate bars. He's not making s'mores. He's just
there's a fire. I missed the fire.
Yeah.
He's just roasting marshmallows,
Just having burnt marshmallows, I guess.
Maybe s'mores weren't invented yet.
Oh, yeah, maybe not.
Or there was legal things with Hershey's.
Yeah, it's like a copyright thing. They couldn't put that in here.
Yeah.
So, so the Beast is like, whoa, okay, well, yeah, I'll find out what's going on, kid. Don't worry. I'll get Havoc and bring him home. We'll figure this out. And Thor comes in, and they're supposed to be on duty together. And the Beast is just like, I'm out of here. I got stuff to do.
Yep. He steals one of the Quinjets.
Yeah.
It's funny because Thor is sort of like has this like outer monologue about how he's not maintaining his post and he's stealing this thing that the federal agent forbid them to use, and he's not doing a single thing about it.
Yeah, right. And it's federal agent Guy Ritchie, who for Marvel readers, especially X-Men readers, that dude is the worst. But he never gets fired, apparently. He always has a job in the government.
We haven't seen that
no
him
matter
yet
what.
in our run, though, right?
What?
We haven't seen him in our run yet, have we?
No. Because
Okay.
I think he must start in the Avengers. And then but he'll show up.
Okay.
So the Beast goes off, and then here comes Spider-Man past Avengers Mansion. He sees the Quinjet going, and he's like, whoa, I wonder what's up. And here's where we get our little note that's saying, hey, for full details, check out X-Men 111 next month.
Well, you don't have to wait a month. You just have to wait a week.
That is right. So that's where we're going to pick up what the Beast has got going on next week in X-Men 111.
Mm-hmm.
So for now, let's see what Spidey is going to do about these Egyptians.
His Spidey's a little beefy, huh?
Yeah, he does follow, like you said, he does follow that Romita Spider-Man, which is just like a beefy / kind of pudgy regular guy.
Yeah.
Which is not my favorite kind of a Spider-Man, but yeah. But that's kind of like that's kind of like Burns' body type, though.
Yeah.
That he's gonna put on like everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So Spidey's swinging down in here, and he sees our Egyptians driving an ambulance that they stole. Not cool, guys. And he thinks they're going to like an embassy, and he's thinking maybe Latveria's, he's thinking Dr. Doom stuff going on. And here we see them loading or unloading from the backup. Glitch, can you hear me?
Yeah, you were glitching out there for a minute. You seem to be okay now, though. Ooh. I think.
Oh man, I must have said something that I shouldn't have said.
Probably.
They got me.
Knowing you,
they glitched me. So yeah, Havoc is getting pulled out of the back of this ambulance, and Spider-Man is like, "Holy cow!"
Yeah, it's a Ghostbusters ambulance too, so you can see what time period we're in here.
Yeah. And he's like, the guy on the stretcher must be Havoc.
Must
he's
be.
like, I guess never met Havoc before.
I guess not.
Yeah. So Spider-Man swings into action, of course. Great little double kick punch all at the same time, followed by a double kick.
I love that panel.
And then
look at the handstand double kick.
Yeah, that's just crazy. And so he's trying to free Havoc in time. He gets him loose, and then Havoc, hauls off and just smokes this guy.
Yeah.
And he's pissed because he thinks Lorna is dead.
Yes, he thinks they killed her.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's like, these animals killed the woman I love, and now they're going to pay.
Yeah.
So he's out for blood.
Oh, yeah. He's just going to melt them with his power.
Yeah, basically.
So
I don't know how he
is a
doesn't
great
melt
example.
everything at all times.
What's that?
I don't know how he doesn't just melt everything at all times. When he unleashes.
There's varying degrees of havoc that is unleashed, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. It's like a microwave setting, like 2
exactly.
seconds.
That's a good way to look at him. He's like a human microwave.
Yeah.
Right. What power level? This is a good example of what I was talking about with the circles, because like the top panel there, it's clearly, I think we're looking at his back, and we still see the circle. If we're looking at his front, that's a very weird drawing. And then down on the bottom panel, we can still see the circle, and we're looking at like a 3/4 of his side. So,
yeah,
I kind of like that though. It's weird.
Yeah, I like it too. I like the weirdness
it works well because it's on the stark black of his costume. Like any other black costume, you would have some sort of rim lighting where they would color it blue, but not him. It's just shadow.
Yeah, they never do that with Havoc, which is great. Although in this first panel, as you mentioned, it is a little bit weird, like the pose, and it's supposed to be his back. But like because there's no lighting, like where the legs are is a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, our guys here, Spidey and Havoc, they're just kicking butt now. And Spider-Man thinks like, all right, that's the end of it. And Havoc knows like, oh, that's just the grunts. We haven't even fought the big bad yet.
Enter.
On cue, here's the big bad.
Yeah.
How?
I have to say, when I first saw him, I was reading this digitally. I don't have the actual copy, so there was no. It was like a page turn reveal for me, and I was really hoping that he would look like a shriveled mummy. So I was kind of disappointed when he ends up looking like King Tut from Batman '66.
Yeah, man, a shriveled mummy would be so much cooler.
Yeah, but it is a cool outfit nonetheless.
Yeah. And he's calling them barbarians. Because he wields the eldritch might of ancient Egypt.
Yeah, he does. Why is he called the Living Pharaoh? Now, I know that all the other pharaohs are dead, but if he thinks he's a pharaoh, the other pharaohs, when they were alive, weren't calling themselves living pharaohs.
They were just the pharaohs.
Yeah,
right. That is kind of weird because it is implying that pharaoh means you're dead.
Right.
And maybe it's like living pharaoh because I'm the only pharaoh.
Only living pharaoh.
Yeah, maybe that's what he should be called.
Right.
But if he, maybe it makes more sense if he was a mummy or something, and he'd be like,
yeah, that's my point.
Yeah. And so this guy obviously he knows Alex Summers here. Because so if you do a little research, so the Living Pharaoh, his first appearance is the same issue as Havoc's first appearance, X-Men 54.
Okay.
And so he was created by Arnold Drake and Don Heck was the artist.
Okay.
And that's sort of like right before the Neil Adams run kind of kicks in. So that's the time period we're looking at there. So like they came into X-Men together, like kind of tied together, you know, like their story, you know, Havoc is introduced, or the Pharaoh is introduced as like this villain doing this stuff to Havoc. Like they're intertwined.
Sure.
Right from the get-go. And Spider-Man, he doesn't know any of this, of course, and he's just like, you know, he's trying to tell him, oh, big talk, Buster. Let's see how good it sounds after I stuff that helmet down your throat.
There's a bit of a spider squint there in that panel too.
Yeah. And of course, the Pharaoh, the living Pharaoh, calls him an insolent pup, and he's going to squash him like an insect. And then, of course, he blasts him through like a window or a wall or something. We see all this glass flying.
Looks like glass everywhere, right?
Yeah. And then there's this chick in here, you know, who's all like, Allah preserve me. It's the Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's wild. They're using all of these like Muslim phrases and names for the henchmen and stuff. Yet, you know, the Egyptian religion predates that by quite a bit. You know.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess maybe they're tying into, you know, like modern Egyptians would be, you know.
Yeah, I guess right.
You know, Muslims, but like.
Yep, that makes sense, I guess.
And so now Havoc, this is an interesting shot, you know, kind of shot, get a good look at his like crazy headpiece here.
Yeah. That's a wild design.
Yeah. And he says like, hey, it's been a little while since we last met. And it tells us the last time was X-Men's 55 through 57 was sort of their last epic duel.
Right.
Which is, you know, pre-Claremont stuff.
Yes.
And here they are. Now they're going to duke it out with their powers right at each other. And like the Pharaoh's holding his own. They seem to be kind of equal. And here we get some guy sneaking up behind Havoc right here with the mystic Ankh that they stole. And he just, you know, it's just a necklace, and he just puts it over him. And it turns Havoc's power against himself.
Yes.
And makes him totally helpless.
It's interesting how they talk about how their powers are connected, while Havoc is a mutant, and this Pharaoh, they never really say that he is. And how could a mutant power be shared with somebody? I guess you'd have to read their introduction stories, but I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Pharaoh is also a mutant, but
is he?
Yeah. Oh, they kind of give us a little detail over here. So Havoc, like normal, is once again helpless,
right,
and trapped, because that's his lot. That's like his role in the book.
Yeah.
And so now they're going to take him and put him in this little box. And so, okay, so here's how Claremont explains it. So from Havoc, he knows what's coming too. His mutant powers and those of the Pharaoh are inextricably linked, with Havoc the dominant half of this arbitrary, unwanted Gesalt. So long as he is alive, the cosmic power they both share flows to him and never to the Pharaoh.
Weird.
But if Havoc should die, then that near infinite power will all go to the Pharaoh alone.
Okay. Still kind of strange, but okay, let's go with it. Let's go with it.
And that's actually a little different than I remembered it being.
So there's this cosmic power that comes down from the cosmos into Havoc, right? Most of it is stored in Havoc, but some of it leaks out and through the ether goes to the Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why are they linked is what I want to know.
Yeah, you would think they would have to be like siblings or
right. Yeah, this feels like more of a Scott thing than a
it feels like more of like their twin brothers. Like that would make a good story, the twins
let's find out
in the thing or something.
Yeah,
so
right,
okay, so he's trapped here and they're saying, hey, the Pharaoh wants your power, but not your life.
Right. Which I don't know why, because if he dies, then the Pharaoh gets all the power, right?
Yeah.
That's what it said.
So basically, this little box and machine they're putting Havoc in. Havoc will absorb the cosmic rays like he normally does.
Right.
Metabolize them.
Mm-hmm.
And the box will amplify all that energy and leach it back out of Havoc and give it to the Pharaoh.
So it's like he's a living battery.
Yeah. He's like a living battery to power up the Pharaoh.
A lot of living things going on here.
Yeah. And then so basically that's the plan, is to just keep Havoc forever in this box as just a battery to power this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The living battery in perfect health.
The living battery versus the living Pharaoh.
Yeah. Sort of for all time, he's going to be a battery.
Oh, man. Hope there's a way to go to the bathroom in that thing. Really great lighting on Spidey in these pages, or in these couple panels. Love it.
Yeah, he always looks good in the shadows, even with this red and blue costume with spider webs on it. Like it always works good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And Spidey is still like super depleted after that blast he took, but he's kind of faking that he's ready to roll and he's going to knock out these goons.
Yep. And he's keeping them from being able to shut the sarcophagus.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is with his web here.
Yep. And here comes our living Pharaoh, who is now put on a different costume. That's all kinds of crazy.
You gotta change your clothes, you know?
Yeah.
The second act.
Yeah, and Spider-Man tries to make fun of his costume. Like you do. And
not hard.
The Pharaoh starts to blast him a bit, and like Spidey gets a good punch in, crack. And basically it knocks him back, and then he can shut Havoc into the box.
Yep. He knocks him back. He knocks him into the web, which breaks the ceiling part of the web, and it's able to shut.
Yeah. So click, and we see Havoc just looking like, oh my God, now I'm a living battery. And we see our Pharaoh changing as he gets all this crazy power. And he kind of reveals himself that his name was Professor Abdal. So he was just like a Egyptologist, he was just a nerd. Right? He's just he's just a regular nerd who liked to hit the weights, apparently. And then figured out a way to, like, you know, steal all this power as a mutant, and he becomes the living monolith.
Bum, bum, bum. Someone watched 2001.
Oh yeah, and he becomes this giant freaking monster of a dude.
Yeah, now that's way cooler. I mean, it's just a couple little simple things. They make him huge, they turn him gray, they give him energy from his eyes, but it makes a world of difference to the design.
Yeah.
Also, I'm really shocked that they didn't just like stick one of the. There's 2 spots in here where like a page turn reveal would have been really great. All
Like
they would have
right
had
here?
to do was, yeah, like this. And all they would have had to do was stick an ad from one of the other places there. I'm really shocked that they didn't utilize that.
Yeah, they did not really think about that much at this
I guess
point.
not. Maybe it wasn't in the, you know, people didn't talk about that then. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I bet maybe the artist did, but then, you know, it's out of their hands once they turn it over, and then it's the ad department and whoever is just doing what they do. Yeah, like, yeah, the living monolith is super cool. And just imagine if the Pharaoh started as like a shriveled mummy character, then you basically have Mumra from Thundercats,
right?
You know, but like 10 years earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that change is super dramatic. And how cool would that be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because it's really funny how I recognize when I saw this, I recognized the living monolith as a villain right away. But I really didn't recognize the living mummy, even though they're the same guy. It's just a different coloring, size, and you know, eye and mouth energy.
Yeah, man, because you know, the monolith, he shows up, you see him on covers. Like he's on, you know, Neil Adams' early X-Men covers when he's in the book. I think he shows up and fights Thor later on and Marvel books, you know, stuff like that. But you know, they don't show the Pharaoh. They show, you know, the monolith, because that's the cool half.
Right.
Yeah. And you know, this story does continue in the next issue of Team Up, where basically Spider-Man is joined by Thor to defeat the monolith and rescue Havoc.
Right.
We will not pick that story up. We will follow Beast to discover what happens to the X-Men.
Yes, that's kind of why we had to follow this one. Not just because Claremont wrote it, but because there was this moment in this issue that will tie into the next X-Men issue.
Yeah, and it's good to catch up with, okay, where exactly is Havoc and Polaris?
Yeah.
How does the Beast get brought back into the fold? All that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
It's also an interesting read as a book compared to X-Men. You know, even though, you know, it is Claremont, this would be a hard book to write because it's hard to establish these, like, build character over multiple issues, because you're always changing out the character. And even like if you're Spider-Man, every issue you're kind of having to come up with some like weird kitschy way that he meets whoever the guest star is, and the most you can do with him is have him, you know, give some one-liners or something. Like you don't get a chance to really develop his story either.
No, you don't, but it's also kind of a fun exercise. I mean, I'm sure as a writer, I would having this, like, you know, from quote unquote godlike control over the X-Men universe, you know, as a sort of counterpoint to that, to write this Spider-Man story that's always shuffling, and you don't ever have to, you know, you always have to, what do they say, like put him back in the toy box the way you found him every issue. You know, that's kind of a cool exercise too. So maybe that's why he agreed to go on and do this book.
Yeah, and you know, Claremont's, you know, Marvel Team Up run, there are like a lot of cool characters show up when he's doing it. You know, Silver Samurai, Black Widow, Red Sonja. shows up.
Red Sonja, that's awesome.
Like all kinds of like cool stuff. Like you can just like go look through the list and see interesting characters on covers, and just grab an issue here or there and give it a shot.
Is this when they had Godzilla too?
I don't know if Godzilla showed up during his run. Yeah. It might have been somebody else.
It's Spider-Man that always showed up in Godzilla.
Yeah, it might be that way around.
Right, other way around, right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, it's cool to kind of take a breather and take a look at another window into the Marvel universe, during this time, and then it puts some perspective onto things, and it was really cool to look at this one. Next week, we are going to be back in continuity with issue 111.
Oh, and it's a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one. It's a weird one, and we like weird. So, grab your copy, find it however you can, and join us next week for issue 111 of X-Men. John, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Oh, I'm on the Instagram at JD Coates, and my comics are at dinobeast.com.
Awesome. Everybody, that almost everything that I do is Chris Anderson Comics. So if you just type that into almost all of your things, you'll find me. And there will be a speed drawing of the thumbnail of this episode at the end. As always, those are available at chrisandersoncomics.com to purchase. And I guess until next week, John, what do we say to people?
Oh, be excellent.
All right. Later.
Check out dinobeast.com for all things John Coates, like Dino Beast, Ninja 4, MLF, Berserker, and more. ChrisAndersonComics.com is where it's at for books like Chaotic Neutral, Spectral, A Showcase of Fear, Lost Angels, and more, plus apparel and original art. Also a link to Patreon where you can read Three-Headed Pig Man now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. We'll see you next time on the Chris Claremont X-Men Comic Club.